Hello, welcome back. This is the sixth video that I'm making. I did one at the end of August, and then I've done one every week since. Congrats to me. I said in my very first video that if anybody wanted me to stop, they just had to say something mean in the comments, and nobody did that. I think that's exciting. So with September coming to a close and us moving into October, I thought it'd be a fitting time to do a little wrap up of September. So I want to talk about the books that I've read in September, and then I want to talk about the books that I plan on reading in October. And then at the end, we'll just do a really quick little recap of how the channel did and some of my plans moving forward for the channel. I'll try to keep that piece brief because I don't know how interesting that is to everybody, but I know that I like that, so I figured I'd add it. So what did I read this month? I read 3 books this month. I started off by reading volume 12 of One Piece. It was good. I think I gave it a 3.5. It was good. It was, I think, better than the couple volumes before it. It's still not blowing me out of the water, but something happened in it. It's volume 12, so I can't really say much because spoilers everywhere, but something happened, and I feel like we're here now. Now we can get started. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it feels like we're about to finally get started. So I'm going to keep going with the series, but like I said in one of my previous videos, if I'm not sold pretty soon, I don't know that I'll continue reading One Piece. But yeah, it was good. It was fun. I liked it, and it was really quick, obviously, because it's a volume of manga. So that was a decent way to start the month. Then I read Dragon Rider, which was a buddy read over on Andrew Watson's Discord channel. This one, I know some people love this book, and so this is not me saying that it's a bad book or anything, but it was a cool 3 stars for me. I think that's exactly where it fits for me. It was good. I'd recommend it to some people. It didn't blow me away. People were saying in the Discord that it felt a little YA, which I could see that. Like maybe the writing felt like it could fit nicely in the YA category, but the themes and the things that are actually happening were really dark, and there were definitely a lot of scenes targeted at adult readers, not for children. There was, it was brutal, and something about that I think just made me feel a little confused as I was reading it, because I feel like the writing and the tone didn't necessarily match for me. There was also an interesting choice in terms of chapter length, which this is not something that I thought I'd ever complain about, but the chapters were really short, which is fine because it's really nice when you get to always end put down the book at the end of a chapter. I like that a lot, but a lot of the chapters felt like they should have just been scenes as a part of a longer chapter, which again, I don't know why, but that bugged me. I think it messed with the pacing for me a little bit. I think also pacing in general was a little off for me. It took probably about 100 pages before I was really oh, okay, now things are picking up, and now I'm starting to care about these characters. Although for some of the characters, I really never got there. I did find it a little predictable, which I don't really think that predictability is a bad thing necessarily, but it did. I feel like it was trying to surprise me, and it didn't necessarily surprise me. So again, it was a good book. I liked it. I had a good time reading it. When it was done, I think a lot of what had just happened evaporated from my brain pretty quickly. I'm not 100% sure that I will continue the series. We'll see when it comes out. If people are obsessed with it, maybe I'll give it a shot. I've heard people comparing this to Fourth Wing, which I think is a really weird comparison. There are dragons and there are griffins in both Fourth Wing and Dragon Rider, but that's it. That's where it stops. There's no real overlap from either into the other. The most recent book that I read this month is Monstrilio. This was good. I really like this. I ended this month on a high note for sure with Monstrilio. I know that I said that once I finished Dragon Rider on audio that I would absolutely be picking up the next Dungeon Crawler Carl book, and I lied, which is okay. As I've said before, I'm a mood reader for sure, and I go wherever my heart takes me. This was a great way to end last month and to kind of launch me into spooky season. It wasn't a horror book all the way through, I don't think. The beginning was unsettling and creepy and weird, and then it turns into this really interesting kind of beautiful story about like love and loss and grief. And then at the end, it turns back into kind of a horror. There's something in the last couple of chapters that I was listening to it as I was walking my dog, and my knees were like going weak, and I felt like I was going to throw up. It was like some intense body horror. Definitely check the trigger warnings for this book before you start reading it. There's a lot that goes on between these covers, but it was really good. I have not really formed my thoughts on this. I kind of feel like I want to do a full video reviewing this book, but I haven't been able to even write out my review yet because I just keep thinking about it, and I keep replaying things in my head and trying to figure out what it all meant, what it was all really about. I had somebody ask me if it was like a literary think piece, and I don't think it is. I wouldn't call it that, but here I am still thinking about everything that I read. It was also really interesting the way that it handled queerness. Like, it was weirdly a queer story as well. A lot of the characters seem to fall somewhere on the spectrum of LGBTQ+. And the only reason that I'm calling that out, or that I think that that's like especially interesting, is because it was not at all the focal point of anything, if that makes sense. It was all just mentioned in passing that, this person's in love with this person. You're like, oh, okay, that's like, not a heteronormative relationship. So neat. And it was never the focus. It was never why something's wrong or the cause of any of the drama in the book. And it was also never the kind of the crutch that saved the person. It just was a thing. This person is in love with this person. Who cares? Something else that was really interesting in this was that it was multi-POV. So you're in the head of 4 different characters throughout the course of the book. And I really think that the voice of each character came through. And it helped you to kind of understand each character's motives and the way that they're thinking about whatever is happening. And I think that can easily be done poorly, but I think the author did a fantastic job with it here. It was a really short book, but it packed quite a punch. So I would definitely recommend picking this up. And that was it for the books that I've finished reading. It was kind of a whatever month overall, a 3, 3.5, and a 4. Not bad. But I do have a strong feeling that October is going to be a stronger month. And I can say that pretty confidently because I'm currently still reading 2 books, and both of them have been very good. One of them is the buddy read over at Hardy's Books of Johnathan Strange and Mr. Norell. I'm 17 chapters into that book, I believe, right now. We'll be finishing it this month, and it's really good. I don't even know how to describe it. Obviously, I'm only 17 chapters in. It's a huge book, so I'm not going to give like any real thoughts here, but it's been really fun. I think I've been intimidated to start it for a long time because of the size, but I also kind of assumed for no reason that it was going to be really complex in its writing style and that it was going to be a very serious book. And again, I don't know why I thought that, but I did. But now that I'm reading it, it's so much fun. Everything just feels magical, which if you know what the book is about, obviously, but it feels very magical, not just in what's happening in the book, but in the writing style, if that makes sense. And it's also really witty. I'm chuckling at a lot of things. Like, it's not like hilarious, but it's really funny. I like the way that it's written. It is reaffirming my belief that Susanna Clarke is a fantastic author, and I'm really glad that this buddy read is happening because it forced me to pick up this book that I've been putting off for a while, and I'm loving it. I'm also still working through Wistful Ascending, which has been really just so fun. As fun as I thought it was at the beginning. It's continuing to be fantastic. It's not for everybody, for sure, but it is for me. I'm 64% of the way through this book. It's just checking all my boxes, honestly. I'm reading it pretty slowly just because I have not been sitting down with my Kindle very often recently. But when I do pick it up, I can just blaze through a few chapters because it's a really quick, easy read. It's light, it's funny, it's fun. It's just a good time. Obviously, I'll give more thoughts on these when I finish them, but so far, really enjoying both of those. I'd be surprised if either of them landed below a 4-star. Moving into October now, I'm struggling this year to figure out if I want to read something cozy or spooky, but I'm leaning spooky. So I've got 3 novels picked out that are on the spookier side that I'm hoping to pick up. Not that I'm going to pick up all 3, but at least one of these I'm going to read. First one on my list is Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. This sounds really interesting to me. I've read one other book by this author, Dead Cattails Assassins, and I've been wanting to pick up more of his stuff since then. I bought this, and I also have The Haunting of Tramcar 15, I think it's called. This sounds like it's filled with a lot of like dark humor, and you can probably tell a little bit by the cover what this is about. It seems to follow the protagonist and her mystical sword as they battle the Ku Klux Klan and demons. That might be the same thing. I think members of the KKK in this book are literal demons, like monsters from hell. I think there's also like a cursed film that if you watch it, something bad happens, something like that. One of the blurbs on the back says that it's a fantastical cross between The Invisible Man and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's fun. Love that. So that's on my list. That's a might do. Then there's also The Fisherman by John Langham. This book I bought by accident. I was trying to buy The Terror after a friend of mine had recommended it. I think he was telling me that he just bought it or whatever, and he was telling me that it sounded good, whatever. And then a couple months later, I was at the store and I saw The Fisherman, and I thought this was The Terror. And so I like sent him a picture of it, and I was like, look what I just got. And he's like, that's cool. I don't care about that. I've never heard of that book. And I was like, oh. But instead of returning it, I read the synopsis, and it sounded interesting. It takes place in upstate New York, which is fun because I'm familiar with the area. It sounds like it follows two people as they bond over their love of fishing and also some sort of either shared or similar grief. It sounds like it's a pretty sad, emotional read, but there's also a part of this blurb on the back that says it's a rollicking, white-knuckled charge into the winding, wild, raging river of redemption. That sounds pretty fun. I don't know much about it, but I have it, and it looks pretty good. So it's on the list of maybe. And then the last one on the list, definitely my most anticipated out of these three, is Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. Christopher Buehlman has secured a spot in a running list in my head of my auto-buy authors. I already thought that The Black Tongue Thief was really fun, but then this year The Daughter's War came out, and so far that's my favorite book that I've read this year. I had a great time with it. And before writing these two fantasy novels, Christopher Buehlman spent a lot of time writing horror novels, and it seems to be his most highly regarded, although they all sound really good. But this is a medieval horror novel, I think rooted in a lot of religious undertones, or maybe not undertones, but overtones. I think it's like quite literally about angels and devils at war, something like that. Let us rise against him now in all our numbers and pull the walls of heaven down. A brutal knight offered one final chance at salvation. A troubled priest, last survival of his parish, drowning himself in wine and guilt. A young girl orphaned by the Black Death, obeying the commands of angels both terrible and beautiful. This trio will undertake a journey across medieval French countryside, decimated by war and plague, encountering along the way martyrs and saints, brigands and fools, the damned and their hellish masters. They have little chance to save mankind, but they might, just might, save their own souls. Right? That's pretty cool. Very excited. So we'll see. I think I've convinced my friend to read that one with me this month. We'll see what happens. I also believe that the author has narrated the audiobook of it, and it's on YouTube for free. I listened to his narration of The Black Tongue Thief, and I loved it. I know some people think his accent is too strong, but I didn't have a problem with that. I thought he was fantastic. That also means this is a very accessible read. So if anybody watching this wants to join in on reading this with me this month, just let me know in the comments and we can chat about it. Moving right along, we have reached 59 subscribers in the month of September. That's super cool. If my math is right, that's almost 60 subscribers, which is an even bigger number. So that's really cool. That means 59 people have watched me talk and decided that it was worth their time to click the little button and come back here every week and hang out. Put the views up on the screen for the 4 videos we put out this month, if anybody's curious about that. But more exciting than the views is the comments number. Bear in mind that probably about half of the comments on every video are me, because I've been replying to all of the comments. But still, that's really cool. That means on the most recent video, there were like 25 comments that were not mine. So that's other people, which I just think is so cool. You know, that's the main reason that I'm doing this is for those comments, for the conversation around the content, getting your input on the things that I'm talking about after I share my input on them, so that I can, maybe have my mind changed or have a different opinion offered to me. That's so fun. In terms of views, the TBR culling video, which was definitely the longest video that I put out so far by like a decent amount. It definitely took a lot of time to edit that one, and I was definitely nervous about how it was going to do, because I didn't know if anybody was going to find the actual topic interesting. I just knew that I wanted to make that for a long time, and I knew that I would watch that if I saw it in my feed. But still, I wasn't sure if that was just going to tank. But I was really glad to see that there was a decent amount of engagement there, and that there were a lot of people watching it. And that's really great, because I had a good time doing it, and I want to continue through that list, and I want to continue making videos. I don't know that they'll all be 45 minutes long either. I don't know that I'll always have so much to say, or maybe I'll have more to say, but whatever, I'm rambling now. Exciting. I'm excited. I'm having fun, and a lot of people seem to be engaging with the videos, so they're definitely going to keep coming, at least for a little while longer. As they do, I think there will be some changes here and there. Top of mind right now for me is that I said in my newbie tag video that I want to talk about books and board games here, and I haven't yet talked about any games. So I think this month I would love to get at least one video out where I talk about maybe books and a game. I have a couple in mind. I haven't decided if I want to go the spooky route or the cozy fall route, but I'm leaning spooky, and I have a really cool game that I could talk about for that. It's right behind me in this basket, blurred out, and it could be a really cool transition from book content to some game content, because this game is actually also a book. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping that happens this month. I'm intimidated by making the board game content, because I think there will be like a lot of B-roll and camera angles that I would want to add. I don't think that I have to do all that, but we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing for this. I also haven't done any reviews, but like I said when I was talking about Monstrelio, I do think that I want to do that when I come across a book that really hits me, and so we might be getting one of those soon. I've also really wanted to do like a bookshelf tour. I think that's another great way to introduce people to the kind of content that I like. Maybe I'll do bookshelf and board game shelf. We'll see. That'll also be a fun one, because it'll be a change of scenery. I'll be in a different spot. You may have noticed that in my thumbnails I have really pretty bookshelves behind me, and then in my actual videos I've got this, which there's nothing wrong with the shelf. I like this shelf. The thumbnail shelves are real shelves that I have. So I think it'd be fun to go through that. And maybe someday that'll just be where I film my videos. I'm not sure yet. There's definitely a couple things too that I want to improve on my videos and on the channel as a whole. One being the video quality, which I think I've figured out. I think this video will be higher quality than the last few. Another being audio. I've been holding the mic, and I don't know if that sounds better or worse than when it's like on the desk. I think it's better, but I have to like experiment more with that. There's also all these knobs on this microphone that I have to like click through and play with a little more to get that right. And there was actually also an interesting chunk of stats on the YouTube Studio app where it tells you your impressions, which I believe are all the times when somebody will see my video pop up in their feed. And YouTube has been kindly throwing my video out in front of a lot of people, which is really great. But from a quick cursory Google, it seems like my click-through rate is a little on the lower side. So I think my thumbnails definitely need work. So I will be trying to figure out how to make those better. They are definitely the last thing that I do every time I put out a video, but I think they're really important for engagement, getting more people in here for the conversation. So that is top of mind as something I want to work on. But above all, I'm having a really good time, and I'm excited to continue doing this, and I'm excited to keep hanging out with you and chatting in the comments. So thank you for your support and for hanging out. I will see you next week. Bye.